Hi, my name is Louis and I'm a music student. While I mostly study pop and jazz, for some time now I've had a fascination for Latin music, especially Brazilian and Cuban music. I've always found the rhythmic and harmonic complexity of those types of music very alluring, and as a drummer, guitarist, and composer, also very inspiring. But I wasn't the only one that ever got inspired by Latin music in history. Far from it, in fact. For a long time now, the music coming from the Latin Americas have influenced popular music in many ways. And that's basically the basis of my part of this podcast. So, as you know by now, my team's project is basically to explain the unseen influences in art, And what I'm going to talk about is the unseen Latin influences that we have in popular music today. And how I'm going to do that is basically going to be separated in a few parts. So the first part of this podcast is just going to be listening to some Latin music to try to differentiate the different styles we're going to be talking about from each other. So why I'm saying that is we can't just talk about all Latin music because that would be way too long. That's a world of its own. There's so many types of Latin music out there. And it would be really cool to talk about them all, but I can't do that in 15 minutes. We're just going to talk about the music that came from two countries. And even then, we're just going to talk about a few styles. So the two countries are going to be, as I mentioned earlier, Cuba and Brazil. Why I chose those two is because I think they are arguably the most influential of all the Latin countries in popular music today. And also because that's the two countries that coincidentally I know about the most. So yeah, I think I'm going to be more qualified to talk about them than, shall I say, Peru or Panama or other countries that I don't know a lot about their music. So that's going to be the first part of the podcast, is just listening to some Latin music from those countries, analyzing what makes them themselves, analyzing the rhythmic and harmonic and melodic things that are unique about those styles, and just talking about them. And then second part, we're going to listen to some pop songs or songs from a few different genres. I think we've got a hip hop song, and talk about what elements in those songs take inspiration from the Latin songs we listened to earlier. So we're going to basically create a link between the Latin songs and the pop songs and talk about how each other have been influenced. So that's pretty much it. Now let us start with the first country we're going to talk about, which is Cuba. So first we're just going to listen to a piece called Bailando Cha-Cha-Cha by the band Cubismo, which is, you may have guessed it, a cha-cha-cha, which is a style of music from Cuba, which is also a dance. We're not gonna talk about the dance, but yeah, we're just gonna listen to it, and then I'm gonna talk about what makes that song a cha-cha-cha. Enjoy.
No sé qué tiene tu cuerpo, niña.
Now that we've listened to that, we're just going to listen to another cha-cha-cha song, which is going to be a more traditional example of the type of music. Now, Bailando Cha-Cha-Cha isn't the most, the greatest example of a cha-cha-cha that exists. I chose it because it's a very modern instance, and now we're going to listen to a more traditional instance, just to see that within the same style, there can be a lot of differences, but after that, we're going to talk about what unites the two styles and what is going to be used as an influence in the songs in pop music that we're going to listen to later in the podcast. So this song is Amor Verdadero, and yeah, we're just going to listen to it. So now that we've listened to those two pieces of music, let's talk about what elements tie those two songs together and that are going to tie those two songs with the songs we're going to listen in the later part of this episode. So first off, in the first song, Bailando Cha Cha Cha, there's one element that I think is very, very important and very apparent also, and that's the cowbell. So if you didn't listen to the cowbell, you can go back and listen to it. But there's a very particular rhythm of cowbell that's basically, it's not particular, it's very simple actually, and it's just the cowbell playing on the one and the two, always playing 1 2 1 2 tuck 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 tuck, and that simple rhythm, which is just outlining each of the times, 1 and 2, that particular rhythm is driving the song forward. It's the pulse, it's the main pulse of the song, and you can hear that pulse in the second song also. But if you listen to the second song, there's no cowbell in that. There's nothing actually playing on the 1 and the 2, but you still feel that pulse. 1 2 1 2, you still feel that, and that's very particular to Cha Cha Cha. So that's the first thing that's important to note. The second thing, which is now less apparent in the first song and more apparent in the second song, is the mantuno. So what's a mantuno? A mantuno is what the piano basically plays in Cuban music. Now, a mantuno is not exclusive to cha-cha-cha. It's in many other Cuban styles of playing, if not all. But in cha-cha-cha, it's very distinct. It's the something like that. I'm not a singer, so don't laugh at me. But yeah, so something like that. You can tell that it's Cuban just by listening to the piano part. You don't need anything else. Just listen to the piano. You hear the Cuban style, and that's something that we're gonna hear in a few songs later. So yeah, well actually I'm saying later, but it's pretty much now. Those two elements that I just talked about are the two most important elements that we're gonna be remembering when talking about the other songs. And well, let's get into it. Let's get into the other songs. So the first song that we're gonna talk about is a song from Justin Timberlake. Yes, you heard it right. So Justin Timberlake did a song that was called Señorita, and we're just going to listen to it now, and you're going to maybe already hear the Latin influences and specifically the cha-cha-cha influences in the song. So let's listen to that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you. He's a friend of mine. Yes, I am. And he goes by the name Justin. Whoa! All the way from Memphis, Tennessee. And he got something special for y'all tonight. He gonna sing a song for y'all about this girl. Coming right here? Yeah. Come on.
On that sunny day, didn't know I'd meet such a beautiful girl walking.
All right. So yeah, first thing first, that song is a straight up banger, okay? It's just a straight up good song. Don't ever make me say otherwise. I like that song so much. But yeah, let's get into it. So what makes that song Latin influence? Well, first, if you listen to the piano, what the piano player is playing, you can hear some Cuban influence in that. Now, I've talked about a montuno earlier, and what he's playing isn't exactly a montuno. I wouldn't call it that, because to be a montuno, you need that rhythm, that dun 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 dun. That, again, I'm not a singer. I should stop singing for real. But yeah, you need that particular rhythm. It's not always the same. I've sung like the same rhythm 2 times, but it's similar to that, and it's not that rhythm in that song. Okay, it's something different. But if you listen to the chords themselves, so what the pianist is playing harmonically, that sounds like what a Cuban pianist player would play on a montuno, just not the same rhythm. So same chords, different rhythm, still Cuban influenced. But that's not even the main thing I wanted to talk about that song. The main thing is, and you might have heard it, it's the cowbell. There's cowbell in that Justin Timberlake song. Uh, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And the cowbell rhythm is just that 1, 2, 3, 4. So on each time, just like a cha-cha-cha. So it's got the same pulse as a cha-cha-cha song. And it's pretty cool, to be honest, because when you listen to that song, you don't hear like you don't say like, oh, that's a Cuban song. You hear that and you're like, oh yeah, that's a Justin Timberlake R&B song. But still, you can, if you think about it a little bit, you still see the Cuban influences, and that's why that song is so great. It's because it sounds like an R&B song, but it's not just that. It's more because it took a little bit of influences from Cuban music, and that's why it's always great to take influences from music around the world when making a song, because you take that flavor and you add it to what you're making, and it's different and cool. So yeah, the second song we're gonna talk about is, quite frankly, I think more popular. I think more people are gonna know about that one. It's Havana by Camila Cabello, and I think also it's more influenced by Cha Cha Cha. So let's listen to that right now.
Havana, ooh, na, na. Half of my heart is in Havana, ooh, na, na. He took me back to East Atlanta, na, na, na. All of my heart is in Havana. There's something about his manners. Havana, ooh, na, na. He didn't walk up with that, how you doing? When he came in, he said there's a lot of girls I can do it, but I can't wait that doing forever in a...
All right. So yeah, this song is quite interesting, as I think personally, I think it sounds more Cuban or Latin influenced than the previous song, than Senorita. It has a more Cuban vibe to it, but it actually incorporates less elements of Cuban and Latin music than the previous song. I'd say Senorita is more Latin in its essence than the song that we just listened to, even though it sounds less Latin. So I'm just gonna explain that. Basically, the Havana sounds Latin. It has a Latin vibe, but there's only really one thing in the song that you could say has clearly a Latin influence, and that thing is the piano. Now, the piano is an integral part of the song. It plays all along the song. It stays there. It stays loud. But it's the only thing, okay? And I'm gonna explain how it's influenced. Basically, the piano, as I explained a little bit earlier, the piano is playing a montuno rhythm and melody. So that's the influence in this song. As I said, it's very minor, but it contributes a lot to the song. So yeah, that's the only thing. If you look at, let's say, the singing can sound a bit Latin, but it's only because she's singing on a montuno. She's singing something very pop like, just singing pop on a montuno, so it sounds a bit Latin. But it's not Cuban singing. Cuban singing is very flamboyant. It's very, a lot of improvisation. Sorry. And it's almost screaming at times. So yeah, that's not Cuban singing at all. And if you look at the rhythm, as we analyze the rhythm in the other song, there was a cowbell on the 1, the 2, 1, 2, like tuck, 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 tuck. There's nothing of that sort here. Here we have a classic pop, 2 and 4. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's something that's very R&B. It emulates a snare playing. When a drum is playing, it plays the snare on the 2 and the 4. So in a pop song, or in a rap song, or in a blues song, in a rock song, all American genres. Pop is, all American influenced genres. And yeah, the 2 and the 4 is an integral part of American music, and so that's more of an American influence than a Latin influence. So that's that for this song, and that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for the Cuban part. Now we're gonna move to the Brazilian part. So we're just gonna listen to a song that is, traditionally Brazilian in its nature, so that we get kind of a feel of how Brazilian music sounds, and then we're gonna listen to some songs that are influenced by the Brazilian samba and bossa nova genres. So let's listen to that.
Dorival Caymmi falou pra Oxum: com Silas tô em boa companhia. O céu abraça a terra, deságua o rio na Bahia. Dorival Caymmi falou pra Oxum: com Silas tô em boa companhia. O céu abraça a terra, deságua o rio na
Alright, so now let's talk about what makes this song Brazilian, okay? What separates this from other types of music, okay? Basically, Brazilian music is very large, okay? So the Brazilians, they made so much music, so many different types of their own music. They have so many genres and subgenres that it's hard to find one song and say, yeah, this song is Brazilian because of all those reasons, because they take influences from everywhere, and it's sort of a melting pot, almost like America, but a different type of America. So yeah, I took this song, which is the best I found in my times of searching songs on Spotify, on my playlist, and elsewhere. Yeah, I chose this song, but because everything in it revolves around what we call the partido alto. So I'm gonna explain what that is. Basically, in American music, in pop, in rock, I talked about it a little bit before we listened to the song. Pretty much everything revolves on the 2 and the 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our rhythm right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the drums, they're gonna play that rhythm. Toots, pats, toots, pats, toots, pats. That's a pop rhythm. So the Brazilians, they have a similar rhythm, but it's way more complicated, okay? And everything in this song revolves around that rhythm. The partido alto can take many forms, but its, shall I say, simplest, or its first form, we could say, is this. So it's So it's a little bit more complicated than 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd say. Just a little bit. And if you listen to the song again, you can hear that rhythm, like da 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 da. You can hear it in the guitar playing, you can hear it in the singing that, plays around it, and the percussions in the background, and everything, it turns around that. So that's something that's very common in Brazilian music. In Cuban music, there's the clave, the da 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 da. It's very similar than with Brazilian music. So there's the clave in Cuba, and there's the partido alto in Brazil. And so yeah, now we're gonna listen to a Brazilian influenced song, and now take a look at the partido alto that leaks into the next song, which is It Runs Through Me by Tom Misch. Oh yeah, and the song that we just listened to is Nassau by João Bosco, if you wondered what it is. So yeah, now we're going to listen to some Tom Misch, which is some neo-soul, Brazilian-influenced music.
One, two, three, four.
I love the way it flows, I love the way it grows. There's something in this sound that takes me far. It's like a special song, can move my mood along. What I cannot say, you'll hear through my guitar. She told me at the bass line, and everything will be alright. She told me that the groove is mine, it will take us through the night. And where I'll go, can't explain, I'll never know, but it's beautiful. You can't take this away from me, the way I hear the melody, the way it's bringing clarity, running through me.
Alright, so yeah, first of all, really cool song, really cool sound, I like it a lot. I find it very cool how it still finds a way to sound like neo-soul, like modern neo-soul, with the choice of chords and the melodies and all that. And then, it sounds like jazzy pop, which is really cool. But it also creeps in some elements, well, a lot of elements actually, of Brazilian music, so it sounds a little bit like a samba at the same time. It makes for a really weird combination of things, and makes a really cool product. So yeah, now let's talk about what makes that song Brazilian influenced. Not Brazilian influenced. And as I said before, it's really the partido alto. You can hear it from the start with the hi-hat. Now I'm just like singing it badly, but you can listen to it again if you want. And the drummer is playing the partido alto with some ghost notes in between, but the partido alto on the hi-hat from the start. Also, something that I didn't mention in the other song because it didn't have it, but there's the bass drum rhythm in Brazilian music often resembles this tu 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 tu, and you can hear it in that song. And then we can come to the guitar. I brought up my guitar. Just I don't know how much you're gonna hear it. My mic setup isn't the best, but just to demonstrate how the partido alto is played at the guitar. So I'm gonna play it slowly. So I just played pretty much exactly what the guitar plays in the song, and you can see that it has the partido alto rhythm as its bass. It plays the ta 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 all along the song. So yeah, that's pretty much what makes it Brazilian. The chords sound Brazilian also, but I'd say they sound a bit more neo-soul. We can get into that, but it would be very long. But the chords are very modern, so I don't think the chords are an influence that much of Brazilian harmony. But yeah, the partido alto is very present in the song, which makes it Brazilian influenced. So now that we've talked about all that, it's time to conclude this episode. We've learned that small things in a song can change it completely. And when those small things come from other types of music, of world music, music that comes from all around the world, it can put a spice in the music that changes it completely and makes it really interesting and innovative and new and fun and really cool. It's just straight up cool. So that's something that's really cool. The unseen influences of Brazilian, Cuban, and all the other types of music that we didn't even talk about can be really beneficial to pop, to whatever genre, jazz, rock, funk, reggae. Reggae is world music, so I guess it counts. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of my podcast. It wasn't the most organized thing, but I hope you learned something. It was certainly fun to do it. So yeah, goodbye.